Welcome to the Working Tools podcast, where we continue our discussion of Worshipful Brother Andrew Hammer's Observing the Craft. This week, Chapter 5, Dress.
Ladies and gentlemen, brethren all, welcome to the Working Tools podcast, a casual conversation around Freemasonry. First, it's important to note that our thoughts and opinions are our own and do not reflect those of our Grand Lodge or respective craft or concordant bodies. Please connect with us and ask questions via our website at theworkingtoolspodcast.com.
Welcome back to the Working Tools podcast, where I am hanging out, I guess, with three out of the four brothers. We have very worshipful brother David Colbeth from King Solomon Lodge number 160 in Auburn, Washington. Worshipful brother Stephen Chung from Prince Charles Lodge number 153 in Kelowna, British Columbia. And of course, as always, I'm worshipful brother Jarrod Dunham from Penticton Lodge number 147 in Penticton, British Columbia. So, dress. I'm just going to throw this right out here, because we're constantly discussing about how Freemasonry looks at the inner man, not the outer appearance of a man. So is it really fair to expect someone to dress better than they normally dress to go to lodge?
Yes. End show. Cut.
Yes, I was going to say, thank you for joining us.
I think you could easily make the connection that somebody that is concerned about their appearance and dresses well usually will feel better about themselves as well. You look in the mirror and you see yourself dressed and ready, and I think that provides a feeling of satisfaction in your presentation to the world, right? I think so. And as he states that the idea of dress and ritual and dining are cornerstones of our human interaction, or signposts and signals of society since the beginning. And so, for years, our dress and how we look have been important. Maybe not in the very, very, very beginnings, depending on how you believe. But at some point, dress, if you believe in the Christian upbringing, dress became important immediately right after the fruit was eaten. Right? They had to be clothed. So whether it was fashionable or not, their importance of dress became important right away.
Well, there's a difference between covering yourself and what you wear. So and I'm going to play devil's advocate here. So why would we force why do we make that distinction? Why is it not good enough just to come to lodge? Is it not more important to make it to lodge rather than not make it to lodge because you feel you can't dress well enough for lodge?
I have that comment in my notes. We often say, I was going to ask a similar question. We often say, well, we prefer this dress, this style of dark suit, right? But we say, however, we'd rather have you in lodge than not in lodge. So if you have to come with work in your dirty clothes, well, work clothes, it may not be dirty, but your work clothes, that's fine. And to some extent, now I think if a guy, not to pick on mechanics or farmers or anything, but if he's covered in excrement or grease or whatever, at least try and clean yourself off or clean yourself up. But if I give a guy a hug, I don't want to have something left behind, or taken away more than a friendly gesture. So I guess there's maybe a limitation as to what that cleanliness or quality might be of the dress that he comes from work. But if a guy's in a shirt and tie or polo and slacks, and we're all in suits, I think he'd still be welcome for sure. I hope he thinks he would be welcome. But in some lodges, I know they wear flip-flops and tank tops, which I think is crazy.
Well,
for the regular meeting, we had a show about that years ago with our beloved Stephen.
Yes, we did. And that was, I gotta say, my reaction was totally dumbfounded, right? Because I always believed I should be dressed in at least a suit, dark suit, But, when I'm in my own lodge and I'm an officer, I wear a tuxedo, right? But anywhere I was traveling, I was always in a dark suit, or at least, right? So to be told that, you know, we just happy if you come, wear shorts and your flip flops and your t-shirt if that's what you have. But as long as you have your apron, we'd love you to come. And if you don't have an apron, we'll loan you one. We're just happy that you'd like to spend your evening with us while you're traveling. And it's like, man, that was so, on one hand, welcoming, but on another hand, so different. I felt kind of out of place, but kind of welcomed so warmly too, right?
Yeah, I get it. And I remember from that show, they kind of demanded that you attend regardless of that. And that's then becomes their choice. And now in
Right,
some lodges, and that shows maybe the openness or lackadaisical idea of
right.
dress in our society these days. But
Well, and then in other instances when I've traveled, I've traveled many places and visited many lodges, right? To show up for a formal event like a DDGM's official visit. Of course, we wore our tuxedos traveling, and we arrive, and the DDGM's in cowboy boots, jeans, and a t-shirt, right? Like, wow, okay, dress code here is a little different, right? So it was like, I guess it's not the same everywhere.
well, and I wrote down, he makes a comment that, are we living in a world that has increasingly come to believe that none of these things matter? So, I mean, if you think about, later he talks about, well, you should wear what you might wear to a wedding, or wear what you wear to church or religious services. And it flashed in my mind, I was at a wedding recently, or even a funeral recently, and there were people in, I don't think there was any shorts at the funeral, but it was pretty dang close. And
Oh, there would have been if you were in Kelowna.
and weddings for sure. I mean, people are wearing shorts and shirts. There's not, now if it would be listed as a formal wedding, I think people might recognize that. But still, in some cases,
Yeah,
getting a
but
guy in a tie.
he's saying that because his whole premise here is that because we are trying to hold ourselves to the highest standards, we want to, everything we do should be to the finest of our ability, right? And but then go back to the very beginning, the first statement made, where Jarrod made, doesn't Freemasonry accept the man for the inner man, not the outer, right? Not his possessions, and so on. So, but then you ask him to wear a tuxedo to lodge,
So,
right?
Jarrod,
So they got to go buy a
answer your
tuxedo.
own questions, Jarrod. What do you think?
Oh, I totally agree in a dress code. I think that the comment of valuing person from their inner is actually separate from expecting them to make a better attempt in their dress. I don't think that they're actually mutually exclusive.
But they're
I think that,
inclined.
especially considering that the whole point of Freemasonry is improving ourselves. And if because I mean, I agree. I watch people going to the church down the road from me, and I know that if my grandmother were standing beside me, she would be just apoplectic at what they wear to church nowadays.
Yeah. But they're
But yeah,
intertwined, right? Dress and
I was at
inner man and
church
outer.
today, and I can buy. Oh yeah, okay, I'll go with. I can back that. Yeah.
But the inner qualities of the man and the expectation of exterior appearance. I mean,
right.
he says the men of Freemasonry are called, I underline called, to optimize their understanding and experience of life, and should be
Right.
committed to these ancient elements of civilization. And so I think as part of the development of our inner selves, we are expected and required to then develop these qualities of appearance.
Right. When I had it, actually, when I was reading this, it's just a couple of pages, and he says, in terms of showing reverence and respect for the craft, which is the important words.
Yeah.
Is that my best, and is that what my best should be?
Right.
So if you're, because so once again, we're not judging people by what they wear, because there's an expectation of them to wear something, and that them wearing something more than just jeans and a t-shirt is them showing respect for the lodge.
Yeah.
I always think I find that when people dress down, it's disrespectful to your lodge. You're saying that you do not hold your lodge in any higher esteem than going to a movie or the corner store.
Yeah.
And there should be more reverence there. Like, this isn't just your normal weekday clothes. Well, unless of course your normal weekday clothes are a suit, but we all know that doesn't happen as often.
And he quotes, wasn't it? He quotes that when the ancients in the Grand Lodge of Virginia, he mentions how a man should be dressed, and that basically in clean and decent apparel.
Right.
Later, he expands on it to say that proper and decent aren't usually constitutional words that are used words used in a constitutional document. And at that time, he feels it meant your non-work clothes. Right.
Yes. What would have been your Sunday best.
Yeah. And well, again, though, a guy that's working at the mill might have his overalls, and so his Sunday, what is a Sunday best to a guy working in the mill or a farmer? It may not be a tuxedo, but
it would have been a suit. That probably would have been some kind of sack coat. Like, I mean, it depends on how far back we're talking, but it would have been a suit of clothes. It would have been a jacket and a pair of pants.
Yeah.
That, they would would not be worn on normal occasions.
Yeah. Interesting. He, when you were saying earlier that we're not supposed to judge each other by our appearance, but even before words are spoken and any physical greeting occurs, I mean, naturally as humans through sight, it's our first sense that's deployed or employed. And so you see somebody and we're humans. We make a judgment of sorts about that person. And so you can't undo a first impression. And
I think part of what he's trying to say there also is that first impression is, oh, this person has made an attempt to show respect. Like, it's not. I don't think he means, like, I mean, we do judge people by their clothes, but there's also the judgment of, this person is showing us respect by coming dressed better than they normally would.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so you see the extremes. Right. Maybe we pay attention to the extremes. We see the guy that's more obviously showing an effort, and we also see the guy that's not showing effort, where the ones that are kind of normal.
So then what do you do in that case there? That's a very good question. So you see a guy who used to wear a tux to lodge, but now he's wearing on repeat occasion things like running shoes or his work shoes and a blazer. And he's repeatedly dressing, more down, because saying that, well, I'm coming straight from work, right? But he has the other pieces to the outfit, but not the shoes. And how do you take that brother aside? Do you how do you react to that, or do you?
Well, that's a lodge culture thing, not necessarily a personal thing. I mean, if that person, it all depends on how your lodge views what people are supposed to wear. If he's an officer and officers are supposed to come in tuxes, maybe talk to him. If he's just a lodge member sitting on the sidelines, then, as long as he's making it, the best attempt he can, because as Andrew Hammer says in the book, is different lodges have different expectations of what people are going to wear. In his, they wear, white tie and tails and gloves. So they've obviously set a standard that they want all the officers to wear. And the expectation is that if you're an officer, you will be wearing that.
Mm-hmm. If it becomes a habit that he's forgetting his shoes, tell him to leave his shoes at the lodge.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it really a habit, or is it just an excuse? That could also be. And I think that goes to preparation too. The 15 minutes it takes to open lodge isn't the only preparation that a guy should have when attending lodge, right?
And there's also the other side of the coin. If he's dressing down, it's showing that he no longer feels the necessity to. So what has the lodge done to make him feel that he doesn't have to dress well anymore?
Very true.
So what, maybe the lodge needs to look inside and go, have we lost his respect? Have we done something to make him feel that we're not up to par?
Very true.
Good way to think about that too.
What is the standard? What is the standard in your lodges?
Our lodge, it's expected a dark suit, and officers are expected to wear a tuxedo.
Yeah, same up here or down here.
Yeah, we haven't been able to get the tuxedo part necessarily, but we certainly. And again, I think it's what everybody wears. I mean, I wear a tuxedo every month, but not everybody wears a tuxedo every month. Just the way I dress. Right. But there's some guys that'll wear generally dark suit as the idea. Although there's some guys that just they want to be that individual, and so they'll wear a suit, but it's a brown, or tan or some kind of. What do you? And I know you guys like kilts. Well, Steve like kilts. What about kilts?
Yep. Well, I'll wear my kilt.
Yeah, same concept. It's still formal attire. It can be worn. Well, because a kilt by itself is not inherently unformal.
Right.
It's what you wear with them. It's the jacket or not and stuff.
So do you think in Andrew Hammer's lodge, kilts would be accepted?
For his officers, probably not.
Right.
Because they probably have a standard.
It says in his lodge, they wear white ties and tails, or their lodge officers wear white ties and tails with white gloves, while the brethren are expected to wear a dark suit and tie.
Yeah.
Right. Another lodge may ask all of
but it doesn't say anything about
wear formal wear.
It doesn't say anything about kilts, though.
No. And you can do proper formal attire. There is there is formal kilt attire.
Yeah.
It's not white tie. At least I don't think it is.
Not white tie, no.
I appreciate the guys with tilts, but I'm just not a kilt guy. And I don't feel that in a formal lodge setting that is appropriate.
You just have a problem with bare knees. Admit it.
It's
pretty much the only thing showing.
It's just I don't know. It's like I guess if you were going to a Scottish lodge, we have a lodge here that is a Scottish lodge, and they Lodge Alba, and so a lot of guys wear them. And in that environment, absolutely, or Knights of St. Andrews, or whatever, a Scottish Rite, in the appropriate setting, absolutely. I just don't know that in an American lodge, which includes North and South America, an American lodge that when you say dark suit, it doesn't say parentheses kilt. And I know the guys that wear kilts would say, well, that's part of, my kilt is part of my suit. Well, maybe. And maybe for special meetings or something too, but certainly not for degrees. And I don't know. If JD hears this, I'm not picking on you, JD. I don't know if he listens to it.
See, I consider that a step up from the dark suit into formal attire, much like a tuxedo.
A kilt?
Right?
No. Yeah. It all depends on the jacket you're wearing with it.
I'm wearing the tux jacket. I'm wearing the tux shirt. Right?
No, okay, then you're not. No, you're breaking so many rules with that. You don't wear a tux shirt with a kilt.
And I love some of the I almost call it a costume, but some of the coordinated efforts that he puts together, and other guys that wear kilts too, not just. I'm sorry, JD, if you do hear this, I'm not picking on you, really. I appreciate them; they're beautiful. I just don't think it's appropriate, personally.
Right
now, if a visitor came and he came in a kilt, hey, awesome, great. Or again, maybe once in a while, and he doesn't wear it all the time, but a lot. He does wear it a lot. Anyway, and it's one of them is beautiful, but it's a tan. It's like a tan color, like a suede-ish.
That sounds more like a hunter tartan than a formal tartan.
It's very light.
Because that's the other thing is there are different tartans for different situations. Like there's usually an informal tartan and a formal tartan per clan. Oh, we're gonna go deep down the rabbit hole tonight. No.
Like the one he'd worn one, we did a formal dinner at the Scottish Rite, and he wore a really cool outfit with, you know, it was really nice. It was very formal looking. He had a bow tie on, and it was very formal. It was really well put together. And you know, in that environment, in a banquet environment, was perfect. It was great. I don't know, in lodge, I'm a little more, I guess I'm more traditional. But also it drives me crazy when a guy wears a brown suit or a green suit or a blue suit, you know, but not a blue suit so
or a
much,
blazer and black and gray slacks.
Well,
that's our team uniform though, for the Grand Lodge officers or Grand Lodge committeemen in Washington. So in our particular case, that wouldn't be formal. Yeah, I would agree. If you were to say, hey, this is a formal
that's not
meeting,
no, it's not. It's not formal.
It's not.
It's no. Anything less like, because, well, technically a dark suit isn't formal either. It's not even semi-formal. It's just evening suit, evening attire.
Yeah. What we say is a dark suit, or if, you know, gray slacks and a blue blazer, because that's what a team uniform is. If the guy couldn't put that together, then, or doesn't, you know, if he had, anyway. And we tell them we don't expect you to go out and spend $1,000 on a suit. I mean, you can acquire attire. Look at that, without having to go crazy. Yeah. We're a little bit off course here, though.
We go to, well, yeah.
Well, not necessarily, but we might get 3 shows out of this anyway.
I don't know.
You know, I've got this highlighted here where he says, by putting thought and effort into how he best presents himself physically into to his lodge and his brethren, the observant Mason is declaring outwardly that he is serious about his pursuit of the craft, and he expects to be taken seriously amongst his fellows. And it's difficult to understand how or why anyone believes in a system of self-improvement would want to take a position in opposition to such an endeavor. All right. And it's like, well, yeah, wouldn't not necessarily take any opposition to it, but I don't know. Personally, I think that we should be wearing our best tuxedo or our best suit to lodge, but if a guy for some reason can't, I wouldn't be holding it against him.
Well, like Jarrod said earlier, you know, he says that as an individual, you should ask yourself, is it what I'm wearing showing reverence and respect for the craft? Is this my best? And so in a natural course of us bettering ourselves, we want to try to I didn't wear, I think I've told the story before, probably many times. People get bored of it. I didn't have a tuxedo when I joined Masonry. I had a black double-breasted suit. And so when I first went to lodge, I just wore ties. And then I realized, oh, I can wear a bow tie. So we wear a bow tie, and that became my tuxedo. And, you know, if you didn't look too hard, you didn't know it wasn't tuxedo. And then I got different pants, you know, put the stripy thing on and shiny shoes, and you could put these pieces together. And eventually, then I finally got a jacket and eventually had a tuxedo. And so you don't have to, you can kind of get away with looking your best. It doesn't have to be, you know, what somebody else's expectation is. That somebody might, like, I kind of envy some of the guys that wear tails. I don't have a tails coat. And in our jurisdiction, you get to wear your apron under your coat can go over the top of the apron. In our jurisdiction, when you wear tails, it doesn't go over the top. That has to go over the top of a suit coat or a regular tuxedo coat. It can't go underneath. But on a tails or morning coat,
right? Because they're cut that way.
Yeah. Mm. And so
you're wearing a waistcoat. So usually you don't do up your jacket when you're wearing a waistcoat.
Right. And so I always kind of have a little envy when I see some of the guys, like our master has a beautiful tails that he wears. And I often think, I should upgrade. Well, should we come back and talk a little more?
Well, yeah, I've got something else I want to bring up.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Well, suspense. Just another point that he makes in the chapter. So we'll save that for another episode.
Well, we do say we're missing Matthew with us tonight. He's off seeing a show that isn't released yet. So good for him, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
His family's taking him to John Oliver for his early birthday present.
Yes.
John Wick.
John Oliver.
He said John Oliver.
He
He's a
said
comedian.
John Oliver. I think he meant
believe.
John Wick.
Do you think so, John Wick?
No,
Well,
I
what's
think
John
he said
Oliver?
John Oliver. He's a comedian.
Well, we miss him and wish him well. Hopefully he'll hear this eventually. And we were talking about in the Blue Room before. If you have ideas of what we should be talking about, we're getting into our close to the end of this season, and we'd love to have some ideas on what you might think we should go into season 6. And we should talk about things. Should we talk about more of these long form formats of books and papers, or did you like last year's where it was short form papers, or did you like interviews, or a combination of things? So please comment on Facebook and YouTube and other places.
Well, and on that note, on behalf of myself, David, and Stephen, thank you for listening to the Working Tools podcast, and we look forward to seeing you again.